Okay, this is Olivia, and this is Olivia's roadmap to success. I normally wouldn't give a dog a treat for being on my lap like this because that could be a way of claiming me, so I'm going to kind of lure her over. Sit, sit. Now, when I give a dog a treat, I say the command word twice. I say it once to tell the dog what to do, which I refer to as the command stage. And then I say it again when I'm paying them, what I call the reward stage. So I understand why they're getting the treat. The common mistake that most people say is during the reward stage, they say, good dog, and they do it like this. Sit. She's like, I know you don't have a treat, so let's do that again. Sit. Whoops. Good dog. Good dog. So if I hear good dog when I sleep, when I come, when I go, when I poop, when I eat my food, when I drink my water, when I sit, it means everything. It doesn't mean one specific thing. Come. That was putting in context. She came to me, I petted her. I didn't ask her to come there, I just rewarded her. That's called passive training, which we'll go over in a sec. You want to come back up here? It's like, no, I want you to give me the treats for right now. I think her guardian loves her so much, she's been really doing everything for her to be super duper nice, but it actually has confused the dog into thinking that the dog is responsible for the human. And then when the human doesn't follow the dog's commands because she doesn't look to the dog as an authority figure, that stresses the dog out very much a similar way to a mother that asks her daughter to not run with scissors and a minute later sees her skipping with scissors. Mom might scold her or yell at her, and she's not mad at her. She's worried that she's going to slice her throat if she falls. So it's the same thing. The dog thinks like, look, that St. Bernard over there on the other side of the ocean doesn't look very, I don't like the looks of that. Why, you would petted that dog. That dog could pick your pocket and take you home and you wouldn't know any better. So that causes the dog to be frustrated. That frustration leads to anxiety. That anxiety can lead to stress. And pretty much all aggression comes from stress. Now, the write-up that's going to be directly below this on my website, you can go to doggonproblems.com, click on dog training tips. If you look at it just in the normal date of them, the one right below is a dog named Henry, or Hendry. And Henry doesn't like being touched. And so I'm gonna basically have a video on how to teach the dog to actually enjoy being touched by a human. It's a similar principle, what I showed you in the video up here above, on how to teach your dog to not react when the doorbell rings. It's using basically either operant or classical conditioning. I guess that would be classical conditioning, now that I think about it. So basically, let's kind of summarize what we did in the session. So we met outside. And she normally is a little bit reactive to people she doesn't know. So we met outside. The guardian was super nice to be a parking spot. It's downtown Santa Monica, so it was awfully nice. I have a treat here for you if you want to come up here and get it. I'm going to prove to you I have it. Come here. So I'm going to ask her once, and then if she comes up, she'll get the treat. If not, I'm not going to ask her a whole bunch because the more I say it, the less I mean it. So actually a couple housekeeping things. So anything your dog is doing when you pet it is what you're rewarding. So if you pet a barking dog, I'm being petted for barking. Jumping dog, petted for jumping. It also applies for unbalanced states of mind. Like let's say that she's excited and I pet her. I will make her more excited. Fearful, more fearful. Aggressive, anxious, so on. So if she is frustrated and I want to be comforting for her, I can lay my hand on her, and that's associated with touch, as long as she likes me touching her. Her guardian fine, me, maybe not. I don't know her that well yet. But as soon as you start petting them, you'll amplify whatever it is. Now, dogs live through repetition, consistency, and good timing. So if we come home and our dog's excited and we say, calm down, the only time I hear calm down is when I'm excited, then clearly calm down means get excited, the opposite of what we mean. So I had you doing this settle exercise here on the couch. So if she's here relaxed, we would pet her from the base of her, nape of her neck to the base of her tail in slow strokes, about that speed. And we would assign a command word. I think you said chill. So now when you're watching TV and she's nice and relaxed, of course, she's going to get your feet on the floor in the dog bed. You reach over and pet her and say, chill. And you pet her these slow strokes. Maybe say chill just the first or second time. Don't say it each time. And after a while, now she understands when she hears chill. Oh man, last time I heard chill, I was just blissed out in the bed. We were watching Grey's Anatomy. It was a nice night and I was very content. And so now we put things in context for them. Now, anything a dog is doing in your presence that you don't specifically disagree with is giving your seal of approval. So not saying no is very similar to saying yes. Now, the only caveat to this is the dog's behavior is to elicit a response from me. So the dog jumps up on me if I say stop that, well, it wanted a response and it got it. So if a dog jumps up on me, I would kind of shimmy away. But I'm not going to tell it anything. I'm just going to shimmy it away because jumping up on us is a way of claiming us. So the dog jumps up on us, you pet it. Yeah, I'm rewarding you for claiming me. Or if it's barking at me or whining for attention. Even if I roll my eyes or like, huh, then the dog's like, I made him roll his eyes. So you just ignore that and become boring. But the petting with the purpose of passive training will help with that. So that's the other side of it. So passive training is when she does the things that you want. That does get her attention. So I bark at him, nothing happens. Come, but I come to him and I get a treat. I didn't ask her to come. She came on her own volition. When she did, I gave her a treat where I could pet her. And I labeled why I was paying her and giving her that treat. I said the word come. But I didn't entice. That's different. So for passive training, you use this for when sit. She is sat. Now she's too far away and she's a little bit spooked for me. She doesn't know me as well. If I would have reached over to pet her, she probably would have gotten up. So I can just say sit. It's not as impactful if I give her a treat or pet her, but if it gets her to get up, then it's not going to be impactful at all. So that's the one way. So if you can't see, if you can't get her to a treat and you're over there and you see her go to the bed, you can just say Cancun. It's helpful. Really get in the habit of doing that. Every time she sits, every time she comes to you, every time she lays down, every time she goes to a dog bed, when she drinks the water, come up with your favorite cocktail or wine. Whenever she takes her first bite of food, name your favorite, call it sushi or meatball or lasagna or whatever you want to call it. So fajitas. So every time she eats, she takes the first bite of food for 4 months, she hears the word fajitas, there's food in her mouth. Fajitas means I eat. All right, so that's passive training, which is absolutely the easiest way to train a dog. She doesn't know how to lay down. She failed that in her training class. We taught her how to do that in like 2 seconds. All it is just every time she lays down, you're going to be all over her. It's like, man, they're easy around here. Yeah, because it's a desirable behavior. All right, the offshoot of that is what I call, the flip side of that is what I call petting with a purpose. She comes up and nudges me or paws at me or barks at me for attention. Remember, leaders tell, followers ask. So when she tells me what to do, if I pet her, then I'm validating, yes, you're in charge of me because I'm petting you. I agree with you. So next time she tells me to do something, I'm going to give her a counter order and tell her either to sit or to lay down. Don't ask her to shake. If she already is sitting here, crash. That's the word. Remember, use fun command words. She just laid down, so I said crash. All right, passive training. So basically, if she comes up to me and nudges me, instead of validating that she's in charge of me, I'm going to give her a counter order, tell her to sit. If she's sitting here, ask her to sit here. And when she sits, or if she sits, I should say, within 3 seconds of me saying it, I reach over and pet her under her chin and say the word sit, and only the word sit, and pet her as much or as little as I like. If she doesn't sit within that 3-second window, playing hard to get works great for dogs. For dating, it works great for dogs. So I stepped on my punchline. So show her that I have other things to do. I'm going to read my phone, email. I'm going to watch TV. I'm going to read a magazine. I'm going to journal. You missed out on that opportunity. When we lose, it's often when we lose things we value them the most. So she's like, man, I used to just get fawned all over for no reason whatsoever. I work with celebrities. Sometimes celebrities kind of get big heads because everybody fawns all over. I love the movie you did. It was great. Well, like that was 10 years ago and I got paid $1 million for it, but thanks. Here, man, let me buy you dinner. Okay. So everybody goes around buying you dinner. After all, like, shit, everybody should be buying me dinner. And then one day I go out and people don't buy me dinner. What the hell is these people's problems? And it's not that the celebrity is kind of demented, but they're become accustomed to it. She's become accustomed to getting attention for no reason whatsoever. Petting with a purpose is exactly what it sounds like. We're petting for a reason. Yep, she was thinking about coming, but she stopped. So I'm not going to entice her. She has to come all the way to get that reward. All right, so for petting with a purpose, she tells us what to do. Nothing happens other than we give her a counter order. If she complies within 3 seconds, we pet her under her chin. Remember, petting under the chin is better. Definitely don't pet on top. Pet anywhere you want, but if all things are equal, pet under the chin and say just the command word. Remember, they hear the first word you say. So pet her on her chin, say sit, and pet her as much or as little as you want. Right there, you can pet her for come. Well, you could have pet her. Now she jumped up on you. So basically, what will happen is she'll realize, I can't tell my human what to do anymore. I can, but my human doesn't respond to that. But boy, as soon as I sit in front of my human, they're petting me. As soon as I lay down, they pet me. So I'm going to start sitting in front of the human to prepay for the attention. And when the dog does that, you bet your butter start petting under the chin. Otherwise, she's going to go back to jumping up on you, nudging, or whatever it is. After a while, like I said, she'll prepay for that attention. The other offshoot of that is, like I said, the passive training. So the passive training is you're waiting for the dog to do it voluntarily without any direction. Petting with the purpose is with direction, or potentially the dog prepays. Now, don't mix the two up. So if I tell the dog to sit and doesn't sit, and then it jumps up here and sits down, that's kind of in the same movement. So that would be passive training at the end, petting it, but I just told it to do what I wanted. It didn't do it. It did it on its way. You technically could pet for that, but I would advise you not to. When I ask you to sit, I'm not asking a lot. And if you can't be bothered to sit, you can't go sit somewhere else doing a slightly different job and think it's the same way. I want you to do it the way I'm asking you to do it because I'm not asking very much. Okay, now we also talked about exercise. She's not a super duper high energy dog, but she could probably use a little bit more exercise. And before we take her out in places where she's going to be around people that she might be reactive to, exercising her ahead of time can be really helpful. We talked about the doggy stairmaster. Remember to do that with an empty stomach. Just use your retractable leash for that. You can also do scent games. Google scent games if you forget how to do that. I'd also recommend you get a snuffle mat and an Omega Paw treat ball, the medium size. Actually, for her, you can get the large size. And feed her out of her meals out of those two things. That makes feeding her exercise. That's like 2 extra walks you get from something you're gonna do anyways. I'm kind of lazy, so I can do something for, that takes me no extra effort, you bet I'm gonna do that. Exercise is gonna be an amplifier or multiplier. Before you're practicing the doorbell exercise I showed you about, that'd be a great thing to do, exercise her. Just make sure after the exercise she has 10 minutes to recover before you actually practice. Okay, we also talked about rules. A lack of rules confuses dogs and think they're our peers. And then if the dog tells me what to do by jumping up on me and I pet him, now that thinks it's in charge of me, then it might think it's my guard dog, then it hears noises outside, I have to bark at them. It hears the doorbell, people are gonna come in, I'm gonna go jump up on them and bark and let them know I'm in charge, I'm watching you. We want her to go off duty. In order for her to go off duty, we have to assume that leadership mantle. And the way we can do this, one of the ways that I have found very successful, is to have the humans start incorporating rules. And the guardian here, just like most guardians, said the same thing. It's one rule I really don't like doing is not being on the furniture. It's really important for your dogs with your particular situation. So remember, it's not forever. It's just for 4 months, maybe 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, whatever it is. And she's going to be going to Cancun, so it's not really that much of a burden to not be on the couch if I can go to Cancun instead of being on the couch. So basically, after a while, she starts seeing that you're up here, that she's down there. And that helps her kind of make a little bit of a distinction between the two of those things. Get those X-mats. I promise you, the amount of time you're going to be policing is going to be well worth like 40 or 50 bucks you're going to spend on those things. Also, when you go to work, she's just going to jump up here. Now, you probably have to get some over there because she's probably just going to go over there as well. And now that I'm looking, I have my back to that section of the room. So you might have to get some more. You could also put tinfoil over there. Most dogs don't like going beyond tinfoil, but most of us don't like tinfoil in our house, but it's cheaper than X-mats, whatever you want to do. But this is an important one. And then at the end of that period, Olivia can come up on the couch with an invitation for me, but remember, don't break a rule to reward her. Pet her belly, play fetch, or not fetch, but play a game, take her for a walk, whatever it is. There's a lot of ways to reward her. Don't break a rule to do that. And if you do invite her up and then she starts barking, she has to get down. If you invite her up and she goes get a drink of water, she comes back, she would need another invitation. Speaking of food, it's important the human eats first. All I have to do is eat 5 more bites of something. I would put the food down, she's not allowed to eat it. Then I eat 5 bites of a chip or carrot, or my real meal. Then I give her permission to eat. When she takes her first bite of food, again, come up with meatball or whatever the word is you want to use for her command word to eat. By having her eat behind you, she sees you having a more rank or status, and that's an important, in the dog world, that's one of the most important things. Okay, so another rule is if you're eating here, she shouldn't be allowed on the green carpet or obviously on the couch when you're eating. The rest of the time she can be on the green carpet, not on the couch. That helps her practice self-control. Dogs are very instinctive. They don't have that by default. We have to break and find ways for them to do this. In school, we give kids homework assignments. Is a homework assignment going to change the Constitution? No. But it's a way of practicing the skill set that you just learned. That's the same sort of thing by enforcing these rules, helping her practice self-control and respect for watching, for you as an authority figure to demonstrate it, and for her to practice respecting it and listening to it. Shouldn't be allowed in the kitchen when we're preparing food. Probably wouldn't allow on that carpet over there when we're eating at that table. The last one is sit at the door. Go to the door, tell her to sit. Have her on the leash ahead of time. If she sits within 3 seconds, you open the door. If she doesn't sit within 3 seconds, you walk away, sit down right here, pull out your phone and check some emails, play Words with Friends or whatever it is. After 1 minute, go back and tell her again to sit. If she doesn't sit within 3 seconds, walk away and sit down for 2 minutes. Next time, sit down for 4 minutes, 8 minutes, and so on. And eventually when you tell her sit, she sits, you fly the door open. Just like the leave it exercise that I showed you off camera, she'll recognize sitting at the door is how I get the dog to go out, or get to go out. Leaving the thing alone is how I get the treat. That's how dogs learn. Okay, so those are examples of rules, but look for other rules. Maybe before you put the leash on, she has to sit. If you're at Starbucks, she has to go through sit at the door. Sit every time you cross a street corner into the street. That's another great one. So look for ways that you can help her practice delayed gratification and doing something like sitting or laying down to kind of earn that affection. We also talked about petting with a purpose and passive training. We already talked about that. We also talked about, I'm a little bit off my rule. I usually do it in the order of what we do. Let me see, I think that's pretty much about it, except for the exercises. Now for the exercise, what I'd like you to do is enlist the help of your neighbor. It'd be great if you do it with a neighbor who can come by, you have the door open, again, work out the code, and then practice that, and then the neighbor never comes inside. So that completely desensitizes the dog of the doorbell. Also, when you're watching TV and she's like in Cancun, every once in a while I go, and she grumbled a little bit. She'll probably bark and run over the door. What doesn't happen? Nobody comes in. You don't get up. So this will desensitize her. Maybe tell your neighbor here, hey, if I knock on the wall, I'm just trying to teach the dog not to bark. Your neighbor will probably like that. But now we're helping the dog by breaking that association, and she's less and less likely to do that. And again, the more that we enforce the rules, the more we increase her exercise, the more that we pet with purpose and passively train her, the more she's going to identify herself as being a follower, and then we're lifting the burden of responsibility off of her shoulders. So she doesn't feel that that's her job. Then she can relax and be content knowing that mother has the situation, or guardian has the situation under control, and then I don't have to worry about these things. If there's a problem, I'm here to support her, but I don't have to take that heavy burden because I'm pretty sure she has cortisol in her blood from how she's jittery, and she'll live longer, she'll live more comfortably, she'll be more relaxed. Speaking of relaxed, remember, let her sniff on the walk. She already do, the guardian does here. A lot of people don't know that for a dog, sniffing burns more energy than actually the locomotion of walking. Trying to think, is there anything else you want me to go over?
I think that was everything.
The last one is the leave it exercise, or the drop it exercise, excuse me. And if you forget to leave it, okay, so let me go over the exercises. I'd like you to practice at least once a day with the doorbell thing for a week. And if you practice, you kind of carry momentum. If you stop doing it after a while, you kind of lose some momentum. So do it once a day, twice a day is even better, for a week until doorbell rings. She's like, who's giving me a treat? Leave it, and any other exercise you teach the dog to do, you have to practice in different situations, different areas. They don't generalize well, dogs don't. So first, remember, you're dropping it and covering it. Then you're going to drop it and you're going to cage it. Then you're going to drop it and hover and be ready to go down. You're mirroring the dog. So if I drop it and she's here, I'm hovering, she goes for it, I go down. She goes away. They're kind of almost like they're on the string together. So, and eventually, once you get to eventually you'll be able to drop it, and you drop it, you're kind of hovering, and she's not going for it. You just pull your hand over here. And again, you're waiting for her to look at you and look back, and she can do both. But so at first you're gonna just drop, and then you're gonna collapse, and then wait for her to look at you, give eye contact. Then you're gonna cage, wait for eye contact. Then you're gonna hover, wait for contact. Then eventually you're gonna go like this, and she doesn't even go for it at all. Then you can move your hand here. Again, she goes for it, you hover, or you move your hand to change, and then she looks at you. And she never gets one on the floor. You always treat from the other hand. And eventually you're going to drop like this, and she's going to look up at you. Now we're going to wait 1 second before I give the treat, and then pick this one up. You drop it again, 2 seconds before she gets the treat. Start elongating that so it's not just immediate. So you can drop it, leave it. Remember, always treat first, command word after. And once you have this leave it command, you can use it on your walks. When she does find something that she really likes, you can say leave it. Now be wary. The dog's nose controls 60% of their brain, and you're not going to compete with the dog's nose. So if she's sniffing, you're saying leave it, leave it, leave it. She's practicing not complying to leave it. So leave it, and she doesn't. I might go over and put my hand or my foot over it to kind of block her, especially with something nasty that we don't want her to get into. But the idea is to recreate situations that are easier. So maybe you go outside and you look for, okay, there's pizza crust. So it's on that side of the sidewalk. Maybe I walk over there. So as we're walking towards it, she says pizza crust. You say leave it. She looks up to you. And that treat is coming down. As she passes The pizza crust is right here. As she passes it, while she's looking up, she gets the treat maybe one step past, and she's like, oh, where's the pizza? Oh, back there. But the leave it is a kind of an exchange. Leave what's there, the unknown. You don't know what's behind door number 3, but you know what this treat is. And we're conditioning and paying her. I'll hook you up if you leave that alone. After a while, she's more conditioned to do that. She's more likely to do that. Okay, now if you have any questions or if you things you forgot, I cover a lot in these sessions, but if you forget anything, please text me or call me. I'm going to give you my personal cell phone right when we get done wrapping up this video. Make sure you let me know. If you don't have any questions, if I don't hear from you, I assume everything's going great. So make sure you text me, and the only reason I'll be mad at you is if you have a question. I have a lot of people like, oh, I was going to message you, but I didn't want to bug you for one thing. I waited if I had 3 or 4 things. No, text me for each individual thing. That's what I'm here for. And I don't care if it's 7 years down the line. Now, if we need to set up a session to work with her on loose leash walking or something else, I have to come back to your house. I'll charge you for that. But that's why I have these other videos like the one above. A video that somebody else paid for me to do for them, I can share with you. You're happy. You don't have to pay me. You can spend more money taking her out to dinner. All right. Would you like another treat? The lower your hand goes, the more it's for the dog. All right, Olivia, come here. Come on. You got to come up and say hi to everybody. All right, I'll give you that one. And I have more over here, I promise. I'm going to lure you up here by putting one right there. So now again, I've made it available. That's a big one right there. So all she's got to do is come up and get it. And she's going to go around that way. Well, this is Olivia, and this is Olivia's roadmap to success. Remember, everything you do trains your dog. Only sometimes you mean it.